There's a lot of chaos all over in the world every single day. You look at the TV and many things are happening. I don't know how you handle that. Our guest today is going to be telling us about creating calm clarity in a society of chaos. This is Now Tell Us, and I'm your host, Anthony Moirore. At Now Tell Us, we have guests come and tell us stories. They come and inspire us. They come and educate us on a subject. And always we're having great guests. And that means even today we have a great guest. His name is Adam Hart. He's going to be here shortly. Before he comes, let me remind you to please share this with all your friends. Follow us, like us, subscribe to us, whatever it is that is in your power right now. And if you have a question, please ask. We will answer you. If you have a comment to make, we love feedback. So thank you in advance. And now, without taking one more minute, why don't you join me as we go together to meet our guest today, Adam Hart. Here we go. Hello, Adam.
Hello, I can't hear you though. The audio is off.
Hi, can you hear me now?
I cannot hear you, Anthony.
Okay, in a minute, you're gonna be hearing me. Let me see what's. Can you hear me now?
Hmm,
Hear me now.
not yet.
What happened?
I don't know. I can't hear you. Can you hear
Now,
me?
can you hear me?
As soon as I went off the screen earlier, I didn't have any audio.
Okay. So I wonder. Let me do this. One
Hmm.
second. 1 second, and we get going. And I hope people. Do you hear me now?
No.
And
The audio. We'll figure it out. Let's do this.
okay.
I didn't press anything. I know that.
It happens with technology. You never know. Can you hear me?
Hmm.
Let's see. Let's see.
Refresh the
Things do
page.
happen. This is technology. And this is the chaos we are talking about.
All right, let's do this.
uh, when you think that everything is going to go right and
It is
things
on
don't
off.
work,
Let's refresh.
uh, they don't work out the way you wish they would. So give us a minute, and Adam will be here shortly, hoping that everything is going to work out right. Now, let's see. Hi, Adam. Can you hear me?
You for a second, and then it cut off again. Weird.
Weird. Okay, let's see. I'm going to try settings again.
That's
You,
strange. Yeah. You were.
let's
I heard
see.
you
Can you hear me?
for a second, and then it cut off again.
Can you hear me?
Let's try that one more time.
Okay. I don't know what it is that you're doing wherever you are, you who's watching or listening. And how was your day? Hi, Adam. Can you hear me?
Hmm.
It's this is unheard of. Can you hear me? Music off. Can you hear me?
Unplug my
Testing,
Yeti.
testing. It has never happened like this before. Hear me?
Yeah, now I do. I unplugged my Yeti mic.
Sorry?
Something. All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Yes.
You hear it?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is something that does not happen on a daily basis, and even before we get to know you, how
Everything for a reason.
now we're talking about chaos, and this is chaos, and things happen that you don't expect, and you
Yeah, you deal with it. You roll with it.
yeah. So 5 minutes gone, just like that. We can't recover them; they are gone.
Well, thanks, Anthony. Listen, I appreciate you having me on. I know we had some tech issues there, but for all your listeners, I appreciate them sticking around and being patient with us here.
We are just hoping that we on the other side we are being heard. I don't know. Is there anybody? Hey, Costas, I see Costas liked our video. He shared our video already, so it means that he is hearing us because he couldn't share something that is not.
Awesome. Awesome.
Someone is already watching and sharing our video elsewhere. Uh, so this is chaos. Where are you, Adam?
I'm on the west coast of Canada, a small community called Squamish.
Okay, that's beautiful. And how is the weather there right now?
Oh, it's gorgeous out now. This is the time of year where we all get back outside and play. Lots of rock climbing, lots of mountain biking, lots of river time with the kids. So this is a great time of year.
Hmm. That's good, beautiful, and it's good that this chaos happened when we are going to be dealing with the calmness.
Yeah, well,
I
that's a large part of what I've mastered over the years is how to create more peace and more calm. When the mind wants to create chaos, how do you get the mind to just relax, be okay with how things are, and then everything unfolds in a much more pleasant way?
That's beautiful. So I believe that this is going to be a very beautiful show. That you're here. Let me try to keep my calm and talk slowly. So, where did it all get started? Is that where you are, exactly where you were born, and how was it growing up?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and well, just to start off, for folks who are hearing or who are listening to this, I have spent 20 years optimizing my nervous system stress response. So I'm a highly respected expert in terms of being able to remove the limitations of our own minds and being able to optimize our mental, physical health. That for me comes from a personal journey and a personal experience of being essentially in a burnout state in my 20s. And so I'm originally from Toronto, pretty big city,
Mm,
and living the concrete jungle life, and got extremely dysregulated in my early years. I would say probably by the time I was 12, 13 years old, I was diagnosed with ADHD, told I was learning disabled, and started to have a lot of self-esteem and self-worth issues in terms of how my brain was operating and the
mhm,
thoughts my brain was producing. And I became very, very impulsive and very reactive. And that for me led to a lot of disruptive behavior, but most of it was around escaping my life. I was very unhappy with how things were, very uncertain about how I was feeling about my life. When am I going to find something different? And feeling quite depressed. And I turned to sugar. Sugar became my number one addiction,
mm,
and that eventually led to me becoming pre-diabetic in my early 20s. I became overweight and was on lots of different medication, not just for ADHD, but now for being pre-diabetic. And I kind of hit a rock bottom moment. I had a
mm,
burnout moment, and I had tried so many different diets and so many different fitness programs, and nothing ever worked. And so I had to surrender. And in the surrendering, I found a pathway out. And I know we chatted briefly before we started, but I have this kind of the 6-step roadmap for finding your way out that I call the Unleash Your Energy Roadmap. And I share it on
mhm,
my website for everybody for free at clearimpact.io.
mhm,
And this roadmap was what I discovered when I surrendered to my rock bottom, and it led me out. And the first step was embracing my own light, and that came for me in the form of rock climbing. I discovered rock climbing, and it
mm.
it showed me some things.
Rock climbing is not for everyone.
Nah, no. But
That's,
it was a nervous system stress response, a real one, like a fight or flight response that rock climbing taught me how to actually control my own fight or flight response to life.
mm-hmm.
And so as I was climbing and climbing and climbing, and I realized, wow, I can actually reset my own anxiety. I can teach and train myself to be calm when I'm climbing and being extreme in the adrenaline. And then I realized, well, wait a minute. This is how I feel when I'm craving sugar. This is how I feel when my kids are screaming and yelling and I'm getting anxious and frustrated.
Mm,
If I can control it while I'm rock climbing, maybe I can control it in the other areas of my life. And
yeah.
that's what I discovered is I could actually reset my own reactivity to my sugar addiction. And that was
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that I healed or I cured was my addiction to sugar through the same process of working with my own nervous system.
Mm. Now, when you talk about rock climbing, is it that I have seen in some pictures where you climb a rock? Sometimes you are upside down. You have to get to the other side of the rock.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, it's not for everybody. And I'm not recommending that this is the first step for anybody. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, to be able to control my fear, to be able to push the limits of my own mind, that's what I was leaning into and discovering that I was so limited in my way of being and my thinking when I was growing up. And when I
Mm,
found climbing, it taught me that I was so much more powerful than I ever knew I could be or thought I could be. And so, I get asked all the time, well, what are some of those practices now that help you to build and continue to build that habit without it having to be rock climbing? And I
mm,
appreciate not everybody wants to go rock climbing, but
mm-hmm.
the idea is for all of us to be able to have certain habits in our lives that do push our minds to the brink of being so fearful or so anxious that you train it to be at peace with that moment.
Mm.
And
What
you
are
just
the,
have to find what that is for you.
what other examples could you give us that maybe because it's something that you've thought you've had people tell you or ask you about it. What other examples apart from rock climbing?
Well, and rock climbing being an extreme one because it's a real fight or flight response. So it works really well. But there's so many of these. And, the predominant work that I do is working with busy parents, parents who recognize that they're so triggered by their relationship with their partner, or they're triggered by their kids, or they're triggered by the fact that their finances aren't working so well, or that their health is declining. And it's like in all these moments, we're going to find that we have these pattern ways of thinking because the brain has us locked into them.
Mm,
The brain likes to be fed the energy off of our fight or flight stress response.
mm,
And so you can, and this is kind of step one in my process in the Unleash Your Energy Roadmap. Step one is to just notice one area that you're being triggered right now. And
mm,
let's just say, for example, it's your partner. Your partner, you come down in the morning and you notice right away your partner comes downstairs and you feel triggered by them. For
mm,
whatever reason, you feel a little triggered and it doesn't feel as nice of a relationship as you'd want it to be.
mm,
That's the moment that you can lean in to what your brain is saying, and it's trying to create fear, it's trying to create anxiety, it's trying to create uncertainty. And in that moment, you can train it to let go of those thoughts.
mm-hmm.
And the training is actually a practice that I call heart flow. It's a 33-second breath practice
Mm-hmm.
that is known, scientifically proven, to reset your stress response in the moment you're experiencing stress. And so this heart flow breath practice gives you the ability to push into what's triggering you
Mm-hmm.
and gives you the ability to reset the nervous system so that your heart and your vagus nerve is communicating cleanly. It's called coherence. So it's coherent in terms of the brain's relationship with your heart and your nervous system. Everything's online.
Mm,
When we don't do this, we're living a very cerebral life, and it's very chaotic. It's very reactive, and it's
mm-hmm.
very stressful, and it's very inflammatory for how the body performs.
Mm.
And so,
And
yeah.
how's that breath work like? I'm wondering.
Yeah. And like I say, like on that free download, it's inside the download. So anybody who wants to know the steps, it's in there. But the breath practice itself, and this came from me having to do this, like rock climbing, I had to learn to reset my own stress response because it's a real fight or flight experience.
Mm,
So I spent years and years climbing at a very high level that I trained my nervous system to live in that parasympathetic state, the rest and digest state, for the majority of the time.
mm,
Now that's available to all of us, but we have to train it, and most of us don't. We don't put ourselves in those scenarios where we're constantly training our nervous system to be at peace. We're just constantly reacting to our heads, and so we don't even realize we're operating at a fraction of who we really are.
mm,
And so this breath practice helps to create this coherence so that you feel what presence feels like. You
mm,
feel what peace and calm, and you own it. You don't get afraid of it because the brain likes to be afraid of it and wants to deny you the ability to feel presence. It
mm,
wants to fill it with more action, more action, more action. Get busy, distract you from being present.
mm,
But the more we do this practice, the more we feel present, and then you realize, wow, this is the place I want to live from.
mm.
So the practice itself is a 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out.
Okay.
4 in, 7 out, 4 in, 7 out. So you're doing 3 times: 4 in, 7 out, 4 in. You go through your nose is the optimal way. You get more oxygen through your nose. So you're doing the 4 in through your nose, 7 out through your nose or your mouth, whatever's easiest for you. I like to put my hand on my heart. I like to close my eyes if it's possible and really connect to the feeling of being grateful for my life, being the feeling of being very excited about how I want things to be versus being triggered about how I dislike how crazy the kids are. I dislike my partner right now, or I dislike the bill I just got in the email. Okay, that's the
Mhm.
moment to do the heart flow breath practice, reset, and now bring in an emotion of what you do want. And then you realize pretty quick that that's what you start to manifest more of.
Mm. Somewhere in your profile, you talk about human adaptation. Has it got anything to do with this?
Yeah, huge, huge. I have a background. My degree is in sociology, so I did spend quite a bit of time diving into human adaptation in the modern world. And so we're at a level of stress in our modern world that we don't even realize we're under. Like I
Mm-hmm.
say, we're just constantly just reacting to things, not recognizing that it's not the real version of us.
Mm,
What we're living is a version of our brain's survival instincts. And that takes over how we think because we have 70,000 thoughts a day on average.
mm-hmm.
On average, we have 70,000 thoughts a day. So the majority of these thoughts are coming from a disrupted relationship with the modern world.
Okay.
And so what we need to learn is that this is happening so that we don't get stuck fixating on trying to fix. I have to lose the weight. I have to get better sleep. I have to figure out how to get more money. The brain loves the fixing,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no fixing that has to be done. All of those are part of the modern problem. It's like, oh, I'm overweight. I need to go on another diet. Oh, I have no energy anymore. I'm so depleted at the end of the day. I need to start a fitness program. That's not the way this is done. Life is not about trying to crunch your health and your optimal way of being into your life. If you're trying to crunch it in and find a time to fit it in, it's only creating more of a stress response.
Mm-hmm.
The idea is, how can you make your life one big adventure, one big playground? And that comes from optimizing the nervous system. We optimize the nervous system. We operate from a place of presence. And everything from there unfolds in the most beautiful way possible. Now, that requires some trust and some faith because all we are told in the modern world is to be fearful, to be anxious, and to try and fix it through a system that's broken.
Mm-hmm.
We have the system within us. We just have to learn to optimize it, and it's the nervous system.
The nervous system. Optimizing the nervous system.
That's it.
Now, I kind of get to know that you've written a book, although I didn't get a chance to have a look at What's the title? What's all about?
Yeah, here, I'll grab a copy here to show you.
Yeah.
So this is my book here called The Power of Food.
Yeah, the power of food. Okay.
Yeah, and the book actually was it's a manifestation. It came from my ability to reset my stress response around sugar.
Mm,
So when I started to realize that I can actually shift my relationship with sugar and transform the anxiety I had around my relationship to food, I said to myself, wow, this is really something. I was on so many diets in my past, and so many different medical professionals were telling me what to do, and I was reading so many books, and everything kept pushing me to change. I have to restrict myself. I have to change my diet. I have to shift my lifestyle. All that ever did was leave me feeling more stressed, more frustrated, feeling more guilty because I would eventually fall off of the diets. And then I discovered how to work with my nervous system, and I realized, wow, I think I could actually shift my relationship through with food through my nervous system. And nobody ever told me that that was a method that was possible. So the book is a highlight of that. It highlights how I discovered how to use food and specifically sugar as an act of love versus an act of punishment.
mm.
And how do you transform that relationship?
Okay. What's the research that has gone into this? What you're telling us, even what you're practicing and also writing the book. Maybe I guess you've done quite some research.
Yeah, I mean, I spent 20 plus years continuing to optimize my own health and wellness. There's a term out there that I have been labeled, and I'm not a big fan of labels, but a lot of folks have called me a holistic biohacker. This is
Mm,
this idea that you're hacking into your own biology, not relying on the system to tell you what to do, but you're learning yourself. And as you're learning, you're implementing, and you're tweaking, and you're tracking. And I don't quantify a whole lot other than I just keep paying attention to how do I feel? How do I feel? How do I feel? And the emotions that I'm experiencing is what's guiding my life experience. And when my emotions get sticky and they get frustrated, that's when I do heart flow. I connect to the grounded moment, and then I transform my life experience again. And
mm,
then I keep going in the path of that energy, and it keeps leading me at 50 years old, being an amazing mental, physical health, but it also keeps leading me into this space of being in service to more people,
mm,
who need the same regulation.
beautiful. You want to share with us the other steps, or would you
Yeah.
prefer we go get the steps and get to read them on our own?
Yeah, no, well, listen, I'm happy to show the steps, and then you can grab the download at clearimpact.io. The
Okay.
thing with the steps is you'll need more details, so that's what the download is for, so that you can have all the details to each step. But the first step is this idea of mind mapping, paying attention. Where am I being triggered? Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now you know a few of those trigger spots. You can start to work with your mind to start to soften your mind around some of those trigger points. That's heart flow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you'll notice within 2, 3, 4 days of doing this practice, you're going to feel more peace and more calm. But there's also an element to this where your brain is going to get angry with you. It doesn't want you to do this because it changes the way that you are giving energy to the brain.
Mm,
And so, your brain's a survival organ. So it's going to recognize, wait a minute, you're balancing your hormones more naturally. Where's my adrenaline? Where's my cortisol? And so it's going to get louder. So we really just need to stay very disciplined with the practice. Doesn't take much time, but we need discipline around it because the brain will try and sabotage it.
mm,
Now, the third step is we have to get connected to an emotional frequency of what we do want. We need to know what we want. So if it's in a relationship with your partner and it feels frustrating and it lacks intimacy, and you just want more love and more calm communication. Okay, so in the moment that you're doing this reset, the heart flow reset, then you're breathing in the feeling of how you do want this to be.
mm-hmm.
I'm in this beautiful loving relationship and it's awesome, and all the emotion you can create in that moment. That's the third step.
Mm-hmm.
And the fourth step is around celebrating, because you're going to manifest more of that feeling. And so when it shows up, you have to celebrate it. You got to tell the universe, God, whatever you want to call it. It's all based on quantum physics, but you want to celebrate it and say, yeah, that's what I want. I want more of that feeling. Thank you. Then we're talking about the fifth step, which is the moments of life. So now you've done this, and most of the work is done early in the morning. You find your first few triggers, you've reset them. And now as the day keeps going, you want to keep doing the work as the day unfolds, because that relationship between the brain and the nervous system, it keeps going 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about a meditation practice in the morning. That's nice, but that's not enough. We need to continue to work with the subconscious mind all day to help create these long form transformations in terms of how we get to experience our lives.
Mm-hmm.
And then step 6 is optimize.
Mm-hmm.
So step 6 is when now that you know you have a more nourished relationship between your brain, your nervous system, now you can look at your nutrition and your sleep and your fitness, and you can round out how you start to experience life in a way where it's not about fixing your nutrition and fixing your fitness. It's about manifesting beautiful ways to incorporate those in without restricting, and in a way where you just get to feel so great every day. No, it's not perfect. It's not all the time. But the
Mm-hmm.
more we do this, the more we recognize that presence, and the modern world distracts us from presence. But as we cultivate more presence, the more opportunity we have to feel happy and fulfilled in our lives. And I think that's what we want more of.
Sure. That's what you want. Yeah, so those are the 6 steps. Thank you very much for sharing them with us. We appreciate.
Yeah. Thanks, Anthony. I appreciate you having me on your show.
Yes, we are almost coming to the end of it, but before we do, we'd like to know what's next for you. What are the projects? What are you dreaming of?
Well, and for me, there's an energy that I have created, which is in the quantum realm. So this idea of the universe, God, whatever we want to call it, when we are regulated, a regulated human being, so a human being who is not engulfed in their own stress response,
Mm-hmm.
but actually has peace and calm as their dominant way of being, what that does is it puts out an energy that is called co-regulation, in terms of the fact that you can now provide that calm energy to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And so in that, you will manifest more people to serve. But you're doing it from a place of abundance, not from I'm serving as a form of self-sabotage, which is what a lot of people do, is they give themselves to everybody else, and it's very depleting, and you take on the energy and it's very depleting because you don't know how to work from your own overflow.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in a position where I know how to work from my own overflow, which continues to manifest for me more community, more time in community. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's what's next for me, is continuing to explore the expansion of the energy of community and surrounding myself with more folks who know how to regulate their stress response and also know how to provide space of co-regulation for their children and for their families, their community, and also the world. And those are the people I'm manifesting in my life, and exploring, all the possibilities that come from that, all the collaborative possibilities that come from that energy.
Wow, beautiful. And we wish you all the best in everything.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, and you too, for sure.
Yes. At this point, let me thank each and every person who's watched us, even those who get to watch us after we are through with this show. Thank you very much for taking your time. And remember to be calm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Presence is the key.
Presence is the key. So, yeah, be present. And every time, remember Adam. But let me ask you a few words that we should always remember you with, even as we are remembering to be calm. Which are they?
Hmm. Hmm. Well, and I get asked this a lot, especially towards the end of these types of interviews. But it does come back to the presence piece, presence. it's just such a foreign experience. I didn't know it myself growing up. Growing up, I kind of got detached from feeling my own emotions because of not wanting to be hurt as a child. And
Mm-hmm.
so I disassociated myself to being able to feel my own emotions. Now that I know how to feel deeper, there's an element of this that as we learn to feel deeper, we have the ability to create more presence in our lives. And
Mm-hmm.
that becomes a feeling, as a way of being that we all should know more of.
Mm. Thank you very much. I can hear some chaos in the background, but I know it's
Yeah.
not going to. I know it's not going to disrupt you. You're calm.
No.
You're calm. That was the mark that we are done with the show, and there's someone else there who needs attention.
My kids are running around in the background too. But
Yeah,
I appreciate you, Anthony, and thanks again for having me. It's
yeah.
been nice
Thank you
hanging out
for
with you.
coming. Thank you for coming and for the great lessons and
Oh,
for bringing calm to this show, to this
right
episode
on.
particularly.
Thank you.
Yeah, so that's about it for today. This has been Now Tell Us, and I have been your host, Anthony Muerore. And together with our guest today, Adam Hart, we are saying stay calm,
Peace.
stay calm, peace, peace. And until next time, it's bye for now. Bye.